That was an amazing performance. Can we give them another round of applause? Looking at them play on the stage, for a moment, I thought maybe playing the guitar could be my next passion. And this time, we'll see how long it lasts. My house was a graveyard. Not a real one, but a graveyard of my passions. Have you discovered something you love, and for a while, it felt like you had found your thing? For me, it started with a bike. So I was in the park one day, and a group of cyclists rolled past me, leaving the taste of dirt in my mouth. I was a little annoyed, but I also thought, well, that was pretty cool. So not long after, I decided to try biking myself. Just some short rides around the park at first. Then something shifted. I began to enjoy the feeling of the cold air passing by me, and not before long, biking became something that I felt the greatest sense of freedom in doing. I enjoyed it so much. In fact, I bought better gear, a nicer bike, a proper helmet, and some gloves to look professional in. I convinced myself that this was going to be an important part of my life for a long time. And for a while, it was. But now, that bike just sat in the corner, the frame's covered in dust, the tires are flat, and it hasn't moved in months. And the truth is, the bike isn't the only one. I had tons of passions growing up until now. Drawing, clay sculpture, 3D modeling, video editing, Photoshop, 2D design, coding, cello, soccer, swimming, biking, running, hiking, growing plants, reading, analyzing movies, yarn knitting, braiding, clothes design, Minecraft gaming, and math, of course. My house was basically a graveyard with all sorts of clay, color pen, dry paint, and yarns stuffed into my drawers. You can see all these leftover pieces that proves the death of another passion of mine. So, after noticing this pattern for years, I did something any curious person might do. I tried to calculate it, because yes, math was one of my passions. And based on my very scientific calculations, approximately 80% of my passions failed. See, the failing process is actually fairly simple. First, you start a passion. Second, you focus either some of your time or all of your time on it for a while, depending on how much you enjoyed it. And third, that's it. There's no part 3 where you do a big project and get featured on the newspaper. No winning the top award. No UCLA recruitment because you accomplished something advanced in that sport. Without a fancy medal next to your passion, nobody admits that it was your true passion. For a long time, I believed this too. When those awkward self-introductions ask, "Tell us about your passions," I will only list out the ones I spent years on, or the ones I won something in. Those things I do for fun, well, I simply wasn't good enough in it. I'm sure each of you has at least a few passions you'll never introduce yourself with. So, somewhere along the way, society pushed us to believe in the unspoken rule. To pick one thing, to pick one sport to play, to pick one important extracurricular for your common app essay, to pick one major, to pick one career. And when we realize we're not the top at any one thing, the shame comes in. I remember carrying my cello case into an orchestra rehearsal. My hands were sweating because I had decided to quit again. I could still hear the voices. She'll never stick with anything. She's wasting her potentials. How will she ever be excellent? At that moment, the word excellent felt like a heavy weight on me, because I had always assumed that excellent meant to choose one path and climb higher and higher in a single direction. And eventually, after repeating the cycle of giving up on another passion of mine, I started to panic. I asked myself, was I doomed to be a permanent beginner, a serial starter, a failure? And that led to a question I couldn't ignore. Was this constant shifting of focus a flaw? Or was I missing something fundamental about myself? And perhaps about how excellence is built. For a long time, I just assumed that there was something wrong with me. But one night, actually, when I was scrolling across the videos and searching for a TEDx topic, I came across a word I've never seen before. A multi-potential light. A person with many interests and creative pursuits over a lifetime. I was shocked. And then I felt a sense of relief I've never felt before. Because that word told me that I wasn't alone. I wasn't missing something. We simply functioned differently. Now, please raise your hand if you felt my experience to be relatable. Ooh. Thank you. Congratulations, you've all just been diagnosed as a fellow multi-potentialite. Welcome to the team. And for those of you who didn't raise your hand, well, it's a little too late to get a refund anyways. Just kidding. This might still apply to you more than you thought. So here's what I learned. Multi-potentialites are fast learners. We see patterns across fields, we connect dots nobody else notices. Each passion doesn't just add another skill, it interacts with the others. For me, carving with clay, that taught me 3D form, which is something that was useful to me when I later started experimenting with 3D animation and modeling. Even coding, which I did not particularly love at first, gave me a logical mindset for solving issues later on in robotics projects. These individual passions sparked the growth of each other. And suddenly, the result isn't just one straight line. It's a network. And after reading more about multi-potentialites, I realized something interesting. The world we inherit today isn't necessarily built for this way of growing. For a long time, stability mattered. So society encouraged people to choose one path and follow it for a lifetime. Over time, that advice hardened into a sort of mold, a single way to define excellence. But the world we live in today looks fairly different. Technologies evolve faster than any single career path. Industries appear and disappear within a decade. So maybe trying to squeeze yourself into that old mold isn't the best strategy anymore. And Once I started to look at my own interests this way, a new style of life seemed possible. Picture a portfolio life with me. Monday morning, you're editing a climate justice documentary. Tuesday afternoon, you're debugging Python code for a local startup. Wednesday night, you're teaching cello lessons to a fourth grader who thinks Bach is a snack. Each project pays and each project plays. And together, they spell career with a lowercase c, because careers can be plural. And this is where multi-potentialites thrive. A portfolio life doesn't force you to abandon one interest over another. It allows you to build momentum across them. Each passion, because when each passion coexists, they don't just add up, they multiply. The 80% of passions that you seem to have thrown away are actually the key to help you build up the other 20% that you succeed in. And guess what? When you feel like you've reached the level of proficiency that satisfies you, whether was it to publish a short film, finish the 10K, or just making an origami flower, it's okay to turn the page. You didn't quit. You completed a chapter. Because excellence isn't about finishing a certain task. It's about the urge to keep becoming, to keep chasing questions, skills, and passions with intentions. It's about how we grow. Some trees may reach straight up, becoming tall and towering, while others spread outward, sending their branch and leaves in all directions, creating wide canopies that touch more space around them. Both are ways of thriving. And now, let's go back to the calculations. These 80% failed passions of mine, they weren't failures. They were experiments in a private innovation lab called growth. They taught me who I am, what I love, and how I learn best. So, to the students, clutching on a trumpet you might abandon. To the parents, panicking as your children pivots from robotics to poetry. To the teachers, juggling between 7 class preps and loving them all. Maybe the question isn't, how do I narrow myself down? Maybe the question is, how do these pieces fit together? And the next time a passion sparks, instead of asking, will this last? You ask, why does this matter to me right now? Because your 80% isn't a failure rate. It's your growth lab, where passions don't just add up, they multiply. And maybe excellence isn't about trying to fit perfectly into one mold. It's about having the courage to reshape it again and again. Thank you very much.